All right, guys, welcome back. Phase 2 of today's lesson is getting really good at factoring, and we're going to be factoring tougher equations today. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do first is we're going to look at this factoring question. I would pause it and try to just factor this. See if you remember how to factor this equation before we do the new stuff. But I'm going to explain it a little bit differently right now. So hopefully you've already factored it. Let's take a look. See if this makes sense. First, this is technically 1x squared. So the rule is technically we do a times c. Well, a times c would be 1 times 24, which is just 24. But we always just write 24 because what does the 1 do? The 1 doesn't do anything. But just keep in mind that the rule is technically a times c. Okay? So 1 times 24 is 24. And then it's the factors of 24 that add to 11. Well, that is 8 and 3. Well, how do we get plus 11 from 8 and 3? It's plus 8 and plus 3. So what happens here is when we distribute, we need to get plus 8x, and we can write an x on here if we want. It's technically plus 8x plus 3x that's going to equal plus 11x. Like, that's our goal here. So the way I'm about to teach this is, I believe, the most efficient way to factor. There are certainly other ways to do it, but I think if you get good at this way, you will be at the top of your game, at the top of your class. This is going to be the best, fastest way to factor these equations. So, well, I mean, we're going to get to that. But with a leading number of 1, so next thing you do is you draw your parentheses, right? And you just write x and x. Well, why do we do that? Because x times x equals x squared. We have to, first times first has to equal the first number. And our goal is to produce plus 8x plus 3x. I want you to think about this because it's going to affect what we're about to do. What's actually happening is we're doing x times 8. Why are we doing that? Because when you distribute, you do the outside numbers. These are the two numbers that get multiplied. And when you do that, you get 8x, which is the goal. Right? So right now, we have x times x is x squared. This would get me plus 8x. Well, we still need plus 3x. Well, the inside numbers would be the next distribution, getting you plus 3x. And then at the end, we want 3 times 8, which would be plus 24. And that is the original equation. So that's how we got x plus 3, x plus 8. First with first has to equal first. Last with last has to equal last. And the middle numbers, when you distribute, have to add to the middle. That's the actual full process there. So it's about to get a little trickier. Let's see if you can figure this out. This is tough. I don't expect most students to figure this out. But based on that, I want you to think real hard. What are we going to do? We're going to have our parentheses. I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint, and then I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try. But we're not getting 1x squared anymore. We're getting 3x squared. What is the only way you can get 3x squared? Now, keep in mind, we're doing whole numbers. When we factor with whole numbers. Quick sidebar, like if I said to factor 12, you wouldn't say 1/2 and 24. Like those would, yes, they multiply to 12, but that's not the spirit of what we're doing here. So we're going to use whole numbers. Well, the only way to do it is 3x times x. So it's not 1 and 1 this time. So just see, based on that hint and what I just said up here, could you figure out the factors? All right, hopefully you tried. Please actually try. But I'm going to show you how it works. So the first step doesn't change. We do a times c. Just this time, it's 3 times 6, so it's 18. So we've always done that. It's just it's normally the number 1, so it doesn't do anything. And I want to know what factors of 18 add, this tells us they add to 11. And that's going to be 9 and 2. How do I get plus 11 from 9 and 2? It's going to be plus 9 plus 2. And you can think of it as plus 9x plus 2x if that helps, because that's what's going on. Now, if this was 1 and 1, we would just do plus 9 plus 2. But that's not correct. No. What's wrong with that? Well, this gets us plus 6 and plus 9. What is plus 6 plus 9? It's not 11. So that is not what we do. So this is the new twist. This is very difficult. You're not going to get it right away. We're going to practice it. When we distribute, we must get these numbers. We must. Well, this is like a 1, right? 1 can get me either number. I could do 1 times 9, and that would get me 9x. I could get 1 times 2, and that would get me 2x. So I'm not worried about the 1. I'm worried about the 3. What can the 3 do for me? Well, 3 times 3 gets me 9. So what I want to do is put a plus 3 downtown, Charlie Brown. Do not put it here, right? If I put it here, do you ever distribute that? No, 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 no. You want to put it down here. When you distribute, you go to the outside numbers. Do I now have plus 9x? The answer is yes. Well, then the other thing I need to get is plus 2x. Well, a plus 2 here would get the job done. 1 times 2 is just 2. So let's think about this. What if I gave you this and told you to multiply it? Wouldn't you do 3x times x is 3x squared? You would do 3x times 3. There's my plus 9. You would do 2 times 1. There's my plus 2. And then 2 times 3. There's my plus 6. That is 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. That's what our goal was. So we have the factors. This is the answer. And you don't really need to put a 1 there. There we go. All right, that's the process, guys. We can do it. We can do it. Hit pause, try. Hit pause and try. I'm going to do it right now. Boom. Hopefully you tried. 5 times 6 is 30. It needs to subtract to equal 13. So that's going to be 15 and 2, not 10 and 3. No, no, no. 10 and 3 add to 13. They have to subtract. It has to be plus 13. So it needs to be plus 15 and minus 2. And you can put the x on there if you want. The first thing we do is or not the first thing, but the next thing we do is make our parentheses. How do you make 5x squared? There's only one way, 5x times x. From here, we have to figure out how do we get plus 15 minus 2. 5 times 3 gets me 15. 1 times negative 2 gets me negative 2. And there's my factors. There they are. Check it out. It's real easy to check a couple things. First times first, is that the first number? Yep. Last times last, is that the last number? Yep. You can check those quickly. Those have to be true. Do we get plus 13 from the outside inside? Outside is plus 15. Inside is minus 2. 15 minus 2, does it all check out? Yes. There we go. And I'm not really solving these right now. We'll definitely talk about that. But right now we're just kind of factoring. Okay, try again. Try again. All right, I'm going to go over it. Hopefully you're trying. Hit pause and try, please. 7 times 4 is 28. Factors of 28 that add to equal 16. That's going to be 14 and 2. How do I get negative 16 out of 14 and 2? I would have to do minus 14 minus 2. And you can put an x on there if you want, because it's when we distribute, we're going to get minus 14x minus 2x. So we put parentheses. How do you make 7x squared? There's only one way to do it. I need to produce those numbers. Well, this 1 can get me anything I need. So I'm focusing at the 7. Does 7 get me 14? Yes, it does. So 7 times negative 2. And then 1 times negative 2, those are the factors. 7 times negative 2, there's negative 14. 1 times negative 2, there's negative 2. Does everything check out? Do I get 7x squared? Yes. Do I get plus 4 at the end? Yes. And does the middle get me minus 14 minus 2? Yes, 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 we did it all. Hopefully you're getting better. I don't expect you to be good yet, but they are about to get a little tougher. What's tougher? I'll tell you in a second. So I'm going to do this first one. 6 times 2 is 12. So we don't change that. 6 times 2 gets us our 12. A times C. Remember, we always start with A times C. So that's 12. They need factors of 12 need to add to equal 7. That's going to be 4 and 3. How do I get negative 7 out of the numbers 4 and 3? Well, it's got to be minus 4 minus 3. And technically, it's minus 4x minus 3x. Okay. I'm going to make my parentheses. Here's the issue. These were easier because there's only one way to make 7. There's only one way to make 5. There's 2 ways to make 6. I do expect you to do this in your head, but let's write it out. Let's do both options. The first option is 6x and x. The second option is 3x and 2x. Right? 6 times 1 is 6, so it could be that. 3 times 2 is also 6. So how do we know which one? Well, remember our goals. Our goals are to get these numbers when we distribute. So let's start with 6 and 1. Does 6 times something get you 4? No. Does 6 times something get you 3? No. There is no way we can do 6 times a number and get these answers. Not with whole numbers, and we're only doing whole numbers. So this one is out. So we try 3 and 2. Does 3 times something get me 4? Nope. But does 3 times something get me 3? Yes. And it's negative 3, so it's going to be minus 1. That's where you put it because downtown Charlie Brown, you got to distribute the outside numbers. Now we have minus 3x. So we've got this one. Can we get minus 4x? Yep. The inside numbers, 2 times negative 2, would get me minus 4x. And those have to be my factors. All right, I want you to pause and try the rest of them. I'm going to work through all of them at a much quicker pace, but I am going to work through all of them just so you can see them all. All right, guys, so 10 times 4 is 40. I need the factors of 40 that subtract to equal 3, and that's going to be plus 8 minus 5. I'm going to make my parentheses. I need to get the numbers 8 and 5. I cannot do that with 10. 10 times something won't work. So the only other choice is 5 and 2. I can get minus 5 from 5 with a minus 1. 5 times negative 1 equals negative 5. That means I need a plus 4. 4 times 2, there's my plus 8. And I'm done. Once you get good at this, you're going to be able to do this just in moments time, where your friends who do it other ways, they're going to be taking 1 or 2 minutes. You're going to be taking 10 to 20 seconds. Next question. 12 times 3 is 36. I want the factors of 36. They have to add to 13. So that's going to be 9 times 4. Now this one's even tougher. Ooh, it's 12. So I'm going to go through all the options. 12 and 1, no, right? 12 times something get me 9, no. The other choice would be 6 and 2. 6 times something get me 9. 6 times something get me 4. No. How about 3 and 4? Well, 4 gets me 4 and 3 gets me 9. So I had to go through a big list. 12 and 1 did not work. 6 and 2 did not work. It has to be 4 and 3. So sometimes you have to think for a little bit. But your goal is to get 9 and 4. So how do I use the 4? It had to be plus 1. Because it's plus 9 plus 4. Sorry, I skipped that step. So 4 times 1 is plus 4. I got it. How do I get plus 9? I got to do plus 3. Why did I put them in those locations? When I distribute, there's my 4 times 1. There's my 3 times 3. So that's why I picked those spots. There we go. Extra practice, more practice. I'm just going to keep going. 12 times 3 would be 36. This time they have to subtract to equal 16. That's going to be 18 and 2. It's a plus 16, so it's plus 18 minus 2. We got lots of choices again. Let's start with 12. Does 12 get me either one of those numbers? No. So 12 and 1's out. Try 6 and 2. Well, 6 gets me 18. 2 gets me 2. I like it. So 6x and 2x looks like that's the deal. So 6 times 3 gets me 18, and 2 times negative 1 gets me negative 2. When I distribute, I get 12x squared. I get plus 18x minus 2x, right? 12x squared. I'm going to show you one more time. And then I get a minus 3 to finish. Well, 12x squared, this gets me plus 16x minus 3. That was the goal. That's where we started. So that's why you have to do that, guys. All right. 4 times 5 is 20. What factors of 20 add to equal 12? It's going to be 10 and 2. It's plus 12, so that's to be plus 10 plus 2. Does 4 get me 10? Nope. Does 4 get me 2? Nope. So the only other choice is 2x and 2x. How do I get 10 from 2? Plus 5. There's my plus 10x. And then how do I get 2? With a plus 1. Got it. So that would be 4x squared plus 10x plus 2x plus 5. And then here we have 12 and 2, so that'd be 24. What factors of 24 subtract to equal 23? That's going to be 24 and 1. It's minus 23. Be careful, minus 23, so it's going to be minus 24 plus 1. This one's a little bit easier because the only way we can make 2 is with 2x and x. So hopefully this checks out, and it does. 2 times negative 12 gets me 24. And then 1 times 1 would get me 1. So I have 2x squared minus 24x plus x, which is minus 23. And then we finish with a minus 12. It checks out. Love it. All right, so that's all the examples on here. If you need more help, you need to come see me. We're going to get really good at this. Keep practicing, keep practicing, keep practicing. Love you guys. See you next time.